Chris, we are wrapping up 2018 and looking forward to 2019, and we are so excited. Every year we've set a record, of course, of growth, which is a good thing. And then looking forward to the new year, we're going to try some other things to add to the business, which is going to make it even more exciting. As we're adding more employees, we're adding more marketing methods and all that good stuff. We're going to be testing 2 new lead sources. One thing that I discovered this year is, although the principle is sound, and that is that you should be completely in charge of your own lead generation, which I firmly believe, some agents, when they're first starting in the business, are not capable of doing that because they're already juggling too many things. At least in their own mind, they've got too many things to get going at one time, like which carriers, and we help our new members with that, which carriers in their market. You know, it's funny, somebody called the other day. They bought a policy from us, and they said that they called one of the other big call centers and asked them about a particular carrier, which is a very cheap, brand new carrier. They asked them about that, and the other call center representative just did not know anything about that carrier. So anyway, that's one of the things we provide to our members when they ask, hey, in my market, which companies should I contract with and why? Kind of what's the background, what's the word on the street, what's the experience of other agents and clients with these tiny new, brand new startup companies, or the ones that have been around and have a pretty bad reputation. So that's key, and that's one of the things that new agents struggle with, and they have to juggle. And then the other thing is getting the contracting done with that new company. And then the next step is learning their application process. So between those 3 things, when you throw in there that they need to best practice generate their own leads and be fully in charge of that process, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming to the new agent, and I understand that. So the best practice, of course, to be in full control of your lead generation process, to learn marketing to the extent that you are reliant upon no one else, no middleman, no marked up leads. You get them for what they actually cost, and you just continue to develop your marketing knowledge and refine to lower your cost per acquisition of a new client. The cost per lead, I've come to experience, it means absolutely nothing. The cost per lead is completely irrelevant. The actual number that means something is cost per acquisition. What does it cost me to get a brand new client? Because if you can get a new client with 2 really good leads, then what difference does it make if you it costs $50 a lead or $100 a lead? If you're going to get a sale every 2 leads, then the cost per lead is irrelevant. Conversely, if you're getting some leads from somewhere for $2 or $3 a piece, but it takes you 50 leads to make a sale, then you're spinning your wheels most of the time, and your cost of acquisition is actually higher. So the cost per acquisition is what we continue to refine and work on. And when you're starting your own lead generation procedure, your own marketing internally, that's one metric that you have to know. How many leads did it take to get my first sale? Then what was the cost per lead? Multiply those together. Now you know your cost per acquisition. So that's one thing we're constantly trying to refine, constantly getting better at. But when you start off in this business, when you start off with Medicare or any other insurance business, one of the first things you have to do is, of course, get a lead flow coming in. And so as it's dawned on me, it's been 10 years since I started to focus on Medicare supplements exclusively. And the newer agents that are coming in, and it's funny, I was asked again yesterday by another call center owner, why are you sharing this stuff? Why are you telling other people how they can succeed? I don't know, because it causes so much fun and grief online at the same time when people are like, oh, he's just out for himself, or he's a narcissist because he wants to document what he's doing. No, I really believe that it's a way to help people. But anyway, I get on a tangent. There's so many agents that are struggling that don't have a home, that are given partial information, and they don't have enough to go out there and feed their families and make a successful business. That's why I started sharing what I was doing way back in the day with a website called sellmedicarebyphone.com, because nobody was doing it at the time. No one was sharing what was happening in the online space in order to do that. But anyway, my point is, for brand new agents, you have to plug into a lead system so that you can do number 1, number 2, and number 3, and that is get those things started, get the companies down pat, get the e-apps down pat, the process of selling, get your internal process down so that you can start making money on a faster track then also at the same time trying to develop your own lead source, which is kind of a more mature phase of your business. So with that in mind, we're testing 2 new lead sources that appear to be very promising. I can't share much about it because we haven't tested it yet. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up in case they fall down. We've had a lot of experience testing leads over the years. When I moved from Florida to South Carolina, we tested 2 direct mail services that were brought to us by various FMOs out there that said, hey, these guys are the best. And our cost per lead, cost per acquisition was astronomical. And the cost per mail in the last 5 years has not gone down. It's actually gone up. So I don't believe that's the best route, although it still works. And I just spoke with an agent the other day who told me that he had invested a good sum in direct mail this past year for 2018, and his cost per acquisition was around $320 per case, which is good in the big scheme of things. You know, when we're meeting with the call center owners and we're overseas on these trips, they're trying to keep it anywhere around $400 or less to acquire one new client that's going to be with you for life, at least for the first year, for the first 6-year run of a Medicare supplement commission, which pays the same thing every year for 6 years in most all states. That's a good cost per acquisition. However, I subscribe to the rule of thumb of Gary Vaynerchuk, which is you shouldn't have to borrow money to be in business. You should be profitable enough as you're going to support yourself and actually turn a profit. And the call center owners that I've been talking to over the years have told me that their time to make a profit is somewhere between the 2 and the 3 year mark of having that client. So they rely on the residual income aspect of the commissions, not for the fact that it's building residual, but just for the fact that they've got to break even. That client's got to be on the books for at least 2, 2.5, or 3 years before the big money call centers who are investing tons of money to acquire a new client, before they actually make a profit. My experience has been different, and that's been, we've been profitable in year 1 every time we acquire a client. So I think the goal for anybody that's starting, and I'm torn on this issue, because on the one hand, I know so many agents that were like me that started part-time with Medicare, and they went from a different line of insurance, maybe like I was doing life insurance full-time. Then I saw the prospects of a residual income and started doing 1 day a week Medicare, then 2 days a week Medicare, then 3 days, and then 4 days, and then suddenly 6 days. Ran my butt off for 2 or 3 years, and then started to see the residual income start to snowball and compound, and then never looked back on pretty much any other product line. So that was my personal experience, and I see new agents that are coming in are not prepared for the grind that it takes to be patient long enough for the residual income to start compiling on top of itself and compounding. And they're in it for the first year, and they look back and they go, wow, you know, I made $30,000 or I made $40,000, and they fail to see that they have refined their process, getting better, getting their cost per acquisition lower, building a pipeline that's going to mature over the next 6 months, no matter where you are in your cycle of your business. So it gets easier, and it gets easier. Then the residuals start to come on top of that, and it all starts to work together for your good the longer you stay in it. But so many people will pull the ejection seat, I call it. They'll get out prior to seeing the maturing of the business to the point that it's residual income. That's the big problem with, I see a lot of younger agents who gotta have it now. I want my big pay. I'm working my butt off. I need to be making more money. You know, I see other people doing whatever it is, final expense, or doing annuities, or doing mortgage protection, or doing whatever else. They're making more money than I am. They made $100,000 this year. They made, you know, $150,000 or $200,000 this year. I'm in the same place in my business by time invested, but in the Medicare niche, I've not yet realized that kind of income. I need to get out. I need to go do something else. It's the patience involved that separates the people who end up making $1 million plus per year, legitimate Medicare millionaires, versus the people who are dabbling in it just long enough to say, you know what, it's not enough money, not fast enough.
Macro patience. You're a young man building something meaningful, a relationship, a business. It takes 10, 20, 30 years. On your day-to-day work, you have to be fast. With the clients, they email you, you email them back. Like your day-to-day. But your vision, what you want to achieve in life, you're not going to build it in 1 year. And so many people have it reversed. In the day-to-day, they're slow. And in the macro, they want their business to be huge the next day. So you need to reverse it. Number one, how hard are you working? I don't know. If you're working 12 hours a day, I feel like you could work 17 if you want, right? Number two, if you're working every hour and you can't work more, with the money that's coming in, too many young people and too many young businesses, when they start having money come in, take it for themselves. They want to buy a good watch. They want to buy a good car. They want to buy fancier shoes. What I would do is when my first money, so here's my story. This is not advice I'm giving just for fun. This is my life. I walked in my dad's store. It did $3 million a year, 10% gross profit, $300,000 in profit before expenses. We had no money. I was making $40,000 a year, 37.4 actually. And I built that business from 3 to 45 million in the first kind of 4 or 5 years. And 5 years later, this is doing $45 million in sales, and I'm making $40,000. This is the advice I gave. And by the way, I was in my 20s and a guy. The exact time, if you're making that kind of money, that you want to use it to do guy things, right? I put it back into the business. I hired 4 more managers, 6 more managers, 7 more managers. I did more advertising. I built a business. Hire people. Then you can do both.
Okay. So that's frustrating to me to see people quit and get out, go to another focus and do other stuff before they fully realize the residual income aspect of it. There's nothing I can do. There's only one thing that I can't provide to another agent. As much as I want to help everybody succeed, I want everybody to be at the exact same level that I'm at and go far past it. But I can't bring the desire, I can't bring the character to stay in the seat long enough to realize that. We've got the methods, we've got the sources of the people, we've got the systems and the electronic applications and the carriers and the experience to share with those. All that stuff we have, but it means absolutely nothing if the person does not have the internal fortitude to get off their butt and go out there and chase it. And I mean chase it for longer than 1 year. It takes a long-term vision. So you have to be patient for the long term and hustle your butt off in the short term. You combine those two things with the long-term focus of where your business is going to go, and there is just no end. So anyway, the point of this is just to let you know that for the new year, 2019, we will have the results coming out of new tests for leads that are more plug and play, where you can actually just plug into a system, have your leads come in, and once you've gotten to the point in your business where you're like, you know what, I think I could bring my lead cost down and get a better cost per acquisition of each case if I take control of doing my own lead generation myself. You know, if you're doing online leads, you can start attending the conferences, traffic and conversion, social media marketing world, the Google Ads conferences that are out there, and learning how the lead generation people are doing it because they're at all those conferences. And then from that point forward, as you continue to refine your process, your costs go down, your profits go up, and then you can scale much faster than relying on somebody else. And that's the untold little hidden gem in dealing with somebody else on the leads. For one thing, you're dependent upon them for the lead quality, and that's always been my challenge. The second thing, you're dependent on them for the lead volume, and that's the challenge of anybody who wants to grow to scale. Once you do what we talk about on Medicare Agent Training, you start growing your business to scale, you have other people doing the applications for you, and you're working on the business rather than working in the business every day, then you have to be looking towards scaling the business. And how do you do that if you are continually relying on, you know, a third-party lead vendor that may or may not be able to get you the volume of leads necessary to grow a business to scale? That's one of the things we're going to be looking at. I'm going to be driving over here to the beach today. Let's see. So we can flip this thing around. There we go. Driving over the Isle of Palms Bridge, going to see what the beach is looking like. Here in South Carolina, it has been very muggy and rain and nasty and cold, but today is sunshiny weather. Absolutely beautiful. We'll check things out on the beach and have a couple more thoughts for you. So 2018 was a great year, and we're looking forward to a better year next year. Why? Only one reason, because we learn more. We learn how to make things better. Year after year we learn more. And I may be weird, but I like sharing what we're learning. So if you have any suggestions, if you have any struggles with your business as to where you are, maybe challenged, maybe haven't figured out a certain part of it, then you need to be involved in our community. Because we share ideas over on the forum on MedicareAgentTraining.com, and we share support. And if you need support in a specific way, you need to send a support ticket, as all members do, when they have challenges, because you don't need to struggle by yourself. You don't need to be lonely in a lonely world unless you're connecting with other people. You're not the only one going through whatever it is you think you're going through by yourself. Everybody else that's been there before you has had the same struggle. The only question is, did they break through? Did they find that little piece of information necessary that they could solve whatever their issue is at the moment? Because if you suffer in silence, if you do nothing about it, you'll end up quitting or reaching less of your potential than you otherwise should. So don't suffer in silence. You know, they say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And those agents that say, you know what, I don't have it all figured out. I can't do everything on my own. I can't figure out one little thing that's holding me back. It's those people that when we collaborate, especially at our live events, good grief, when we open up the floor and everybody shares what they're doing, you walk away with just one idea and it could change your life, change your business, and in doing so, change how many people you can affect in a positive way that are in your sphere, that people that you know that need help, people that you know that are going through things and struggling, that if you're struggling yourself, you can't help them. You can't be that resource for them. That's probably the most exciting part of my business, is now we can help more people. So anyway, don't suffer in silence. That's the message. And we have new stuff coming in 2019 that are going to help you in your business, provide new marketing methods, new things to bring to your existing clients, and I'm very excited about that. So stay tuned, stay plugged in. Keep the hope, because it works. And I hope for you in 2019 that you see new opportunities and that you seize them. You have what's ready, that when the opportunity presents itself, you yourself personally, you are ready to take advantage of it. But that's a decision I can't make for you. Hope you have a great 2019. From the very cold, people wearing jackets, Isle of Palms Beach in South Carolina. Happy New Year, y'all.